Gràcies, Àlex. Bon dia a tots.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to explain the situation we have reached in the negotiations with Leo Messi. First of all, I would like to say that the inheritance that we have received is awful, is dreadful. The salary mass is 110% of the total income of the club. We don't have any margin in terms of salary. The rules and regulations of the Spanish La Liga is regulated by a financial fair play. We don't have any margin. We knew that when we got to the club. But I have to say that when we got to the club, the numbers that had been presented to us after the first conclusions of the audit and our analysis, those numbers are a lot worse than those that were exposed initially. And those that we were working with. That means that the losses are a lot more elevated than what we had expected. What we're spending is a lot more than we expected. And the current contracts mean that we have this salary mass of great magnitude, and it allows us no margin. This is all tied to fair play. The financial fair play, as you know, in La Liga doesn't follow the criteria of cash. That means that's why we couldn't fit in the first contract that we had agreed to with Leo Messi. And I can explain it to you if that's what you would like. And then, in order to have that fair play, Barca had to agree to an operation that meant that the club would affect the club for the next 50 years in terms of television rights. And that has meant that when I have to make the decision, I can't make a decision that will affect the club for the next 50 years. The club is over 100 years old, and it's above everyone and everything, even above the best player of the world, the best player who's been with us over the last few years, and we will always thank him for everything he's done for us. The club goes over players, coaches, presidents. I wanted to make this little introduction, and I will answer all of your questions. But I do want to say that the reasons why we have decided that we have to get to this point of negotiations is that there are objective reasons regarding the economical situation of the club. And an investment of that volume with the contract of Messi was risky. We wanted to assume those risks. All of us in the board of directors. But when we have realized what the real situation at the club is after the audit, it meant that we would have put the club in great risk. And the salary mass has a great deal to do with that. There's no margin. After a calamitous situation that was all down to the previous board of administrators. If we terminate current contracts, that also has its risks. And the only way to have that salary margin right now was to accept that operation, an operation that we don't think is interesting for Barca. We can go into details. But it's an operation that puts at risk the club for the next 50 years. We understand that we can't do that. And I want to end this introduction saying that Leo wanted to stay at Barca. We wanted him to stay. The fact that he wanted to stay, it was the first step that was made. That was a key factor. He wanted to stay. I want to thank everyone who's been in the negotiation, both on behalf of the club and on behalf of Leo. We've been negotiating during these last few months with all the little intricacies of a negotiation, and there were lots of aspects that needed to be negotiated as well. It needed to be compatible with fair play. It needed to be of a certain duration because he's the best player in the world and he has other offers, of course. And after all of this negotiation, this process, there comes a moment where you need to say enough. You need to analyze it rigorously with a cold head and look at the numbers. And in the Spanish La Liga, we have to abide by the rules. We think they could be more flexible, but that's not an excuse. We knew the rule, we knew the regulation, but we couldn't abide by it because of the inheritance we have. Leo deserves everything. He's proven that he loves Barca. He has his roots at Barca and in Barcelona. And if you'll allow me a personal thought, I'm sad, but I'm convinced that we've done the best for the interest of Football Club Barcelona. And now we'll proceed to the questions. Everyone will get to ask questions.
Hola, president, bon dia. Des del seu punt de vista, m'agradaria saber, tot i que tindrem temps per parlar-ne, quin és el llegat?
What is the legacy of Leo Messi at Football Club Barcelona? Leo's legacy is excellent. Leo's made history. He's the player with the most success in the history of the club. He's been the reference of an era which has been splendid, the best era of Barca's history up until today. I hope we can overcome this situation. A new era starts now. There'll be a before and after Leo, as there was with other great players in the history of Barca. I wasn't alive for the era of Samitier or Kubala, but I was there for Joan. And Leo Messi goes along those lines. He's given us lots of joy, lots of sporting success. Lots of images that will go down in history. And we need to be eternally thankful to him.
Un dels aspectes que ha comentat és el famós tema del límit salarial. També s'havia comentat el tema de la reducció.
Hello, President. You've commented the limit of salary. There had been talks of players leaving to create that space. And is this situation irreversible? Can the situation be overturned and Messi stay at Barca? I don't want to generate false hope. And during the course of negotiations, we've known that the players had other offers. And there was a time limit, both for us because La Liga starts shortly, and for them as well because he needs some time. Because if fair play continues to be rigid, the player also needs some time to see what he's going to do and evaluate his situation and look at other options. We'd been at it for 2 months, and we've gone through different stages. The first agreement was 2 years to pay in 5 years, that would be paid in 5. And Leo was in agreement with that. He was always present in the negotiations, and he tried to make it easy for us. So the first offer was 2 years of salary to be paid in 5. And when we thought that that would be allowed in the regulations of fair play, the criteria of cash came into play, and it's not allowed here, whereas it is allowed in other countries. So it's all part of a process. La Liga also had its pressures because there are other clubs that want regulations and rules to be abided by. Then we'd agreed to a 5-year contract, which was also accepted by Leo. Even though we were all thinking of 2 more years. We all agreed, though. We were all thinking of 2 years, and then if he wanted more, we could sit and negotiate. But 2 years at Barca is what we all wanted. We wanted the era post-Messi, the one that we're starting today. We wanted that to start in 2 years. But taking into account the circumstances, we've had to bring that forward. We all wanted to enjoy his talent, his magic, playing at Barca. But at the moment, it can't be. So when we did that 5-year contract that we thought would be allowed by the fair play regulations, and I had insinuated this in a convincing way that this would be allowed. After a technical analysis by the La Liga Commission, we found out that this contract wouldn't be valid within those regulations. And now the situation is that the only way was to accept an operation, La Liga's operation, one that is not in Barca's best interest. We were going to receive some money, but we think that receiving that money, accepting that money, but affecting our television rights for the future is something that we can't accept.
l'entitat està per sobre de jugadors, entrenadors i presidents.
And Barca goes above players, coaches and presidents.
Joan Domènech del periòdico de Catalunya. Hem d'entendre que bàsicament les raons de la marxa de Messi són purament econòmiques.
So do we understand that the reason why Messi is not continuing is an economical reason?
I que s'havia de reduir el sou. Però com a massa salarial s'entén la massa salarial de tot el vestidor.
And do we understand the salary mass as the whole of the dressing room, the whole of the team? Did other players not accept a reduction in salary?
Perquè us feu una idea, el rati que tenim a la...
The ratio that we have in the salary limit is 4-1.
25 milions de salari.
So to bring in 25 million in salary, we had to release 100. That's a lot of players and a lot of reduction. The direction of football is working intensely in terms of trying to liberate some of that salary mass. With some players, we've reached agreements, and with others who we're working with, it's not an easy process. Those are contracts that are current contracts. Some players had already accepted a salary reduction. They'd already restructured it in previous negotiations. And it's not easy. Maybe we'll have to make other decisions, but they're not a guarantee of anything. It won't be a guarantee of being the right solution. It's an uneasy situation, a risky situation for the club, and it all requires time. What is true is that with what we were counting on for Leo, the salary mass would have been 110% compared to the income of the club. And that's not sustainable. And that's why we'll continue to work along these lines. Salary mass has us tied right now. And there were investments that were made in the past that restrict our situation right now. And people ask, why can we sign El Kun? Why can we sign Emerson? Why can we sign Memphis? Because these are players who have come to Barca accepting a certain conditions in terms of salary. And we have to thank them for that. And the arrival of one of these players isn't comparable to what it would have meant to formalize those agreements we'd reached with Leo Messi in terms of fair play. Before you were asked if the situation could be overturned, but can Barca make new signings at the moment? Or is it not possible to sign new players with or without Messi? I insist, I don't want to create false hope. This negotiation has ended, and it has brought us here without being able to formalize those agreements because of the salary limit. And La Liga, and it's respectable, is not flexible in terms of widening that salary limit. And if they did do it, we would have to accept that operation that I insist. The club is over everything, and we can't affect those broadcasting rights for half a century. And it's not only that. There are other aspects of this agreement in terms of selling the rights to 10% of La Liga that we just don't see very clearly. So we can't create false hope right now. And going from there, our motivation is great. We have great motivation. Me and the other members of the boards of directors. This has been a very complicated process. There were lots of aspects to take into account. And having said all of this, we're more motivated than ever. Players, coaching staff, all of us, including the board of directors and your president. There will be demands on us, and we're up for the challenge. We're more motivated than ever for Barca, without Messi, to continue to be successful and give us all the joy we need. And it's obviously sad that the situation is what it is with Messi, in a situation with COVID, and we can't pay homage to him in a way that we would have wanted to do in 2 years, with fans in the stands, and it could have been done in a nicer way. But now the circumstances are what they are. So it's very sad. But apart from that, when you think about the decision being made in terms of Barca being above everything and preserving the club's interests above everything, we have 122 years of history. We've been through everything, and we've always come through. So now with more motivation than ever, we want the post-Messi era to be very successul. And I'm convinced it will be.
Usted ha dicho evidentemente que no quería hipotecar el futuro. También ha reconocido una herencia que le ha dejado las cosas muy.
You talked about the inheritance that has made things very complicated. There was 6 months to deal with that. And in what way do you think you've made false promises to the fans? Do you feel responsible for those election promises? No, I don't. I've said this several times. I said that we would do everything possible for Messi to stay at Barca within the economical situation of the club. And we reached an agreement with Messi, but we weren't able to formalize it because of the economical situation that the club is going through, which means that we can't inscribe the player under that agreement because of the salary limit.
El hecho de culpables aquí, bueno,
are there,
evidentemente tampoco me gusta estar
is anyone guilty of this situation? I mean, I don't want to go on and on about the inheritance and the awful decisions that were made in the past, but we haven't had 6 months. We've had less, because the audit numbers have just come out. One thing is the numbers that were presented to us initially, but now we've realized that the situation is even worse than we expected.
Entonces, ahí qué pasa, que hemos pasado de Guatemala a Guatepeor. Y además nos hemos
So we've gone from bad to worse.
La constatación de esto con las primeras conclusiones de la auditoría.
The first conclusions of the audit confirm that.
Hombre, progresa adecuadamente. ¿Por qué? Porque parece que la Liga va a
I had said that the negotiations were going well, because it did seem like La Liga was going to be more flexible with fair play, and the player, Messi, has behaved in excellent manner. And we reached an economical agreement. The players always made it easier for us. So that's why we were saying that things were going well. But at one point we needed to say enough and say, in order to have fair play, we need to do this. Or we need to make a bigger effort that will put the club at risk. And the answer is that we couldn't keep going with this. And we needed to make a decision. And that's what we did.
Sí. Hola, president, aquí al costat. Santi Jiménez del diari AS. Hi ha un dubte que tinc, que estava parlant vostè de terminis, i quan parlava de terminis el mercat no es tancava fins al dia 31.
You were talking about
entenc que hi havia uns esforços que
terms
la Lliga que no sé
and
si
limits.
una mica com un xantatge de dir o accepteu aquest...
The transfer window doesn't end until the 31st, and we're at the 6th of August. And is there a situation in which we're trying to put pressure on La Liga?
Amb altres jugadors, parlo d'Umtiti, Coutinho, Dembélé...
Can the situation be addressed with other players like Coutinho, Umtiti, Griezmann, Dembélé?
O era una qüestió de terminis que tenien pactats i si era un xantatge aquesta jugada que els hi feia la Lliga.
Is all of this a situation in which we're trying to put pressure? We made this operation with La Liga. We'll have some cash income, and we would have 50% more of the of salary mass or salary limit. But that doesn't make the situation better. That didn't fix the situation. And then we had to go to that situation which you were talking about, in which we have to address a series of contracts that we can't break unilaterally, because that is risky. But if you add to that, that right now we have full knowledge of the situation of the club, with great sadness, we have to make a decision. What we can't do is just keep prolonging the agony, making things longer. We have the Gamper this Sunday. Then on the 15th, we're playing Real Sociedad, and we needed to make a decision. And for Leo, they didn't have a lot more margin. A limit date had been talked about, but we thought it would all be resolved by the month of July. And they have their tempos as well. So I think it's best to make this decision now, which means before and after Leo Messi. And we've advanced that decision 2 years, which is when we thought that would be the time that Leo would still be playing for us.
Volia preguntar si ens pot fer una cronologia més concreta de les últimes hores.
Could you explain to us what has happened in the last few hours? When did you know that this would not be possible? When did you talk to Messi or Messi's father and tell him that he could not continue at the club?
Jo, diguem-ne que fa 2 dies.
2 days ago.
Que ja arribo a la conclusió
I reached the conclusion that this
ja no dona per més.
We had to say enough, that we couldn't do it. And yesterday we had our last conversations with Leo's father. The negotiations have been very intense over the last 2 months. And I want to congratulate all the parts of the negotiation. There had been agreements that couldn't be made because of external reasons. But we can't say that we didn't know about fair play. We didn't know about our salary limit. We thought we would get more flexibility, but it was extremely difficult because we knew of the situation because of that inheritance that we have received.
Bon dia, president. A la seva dreta, Romero de RAC1. Si amb el contracte de Messi la massa salarial estàvem parlant que es disparava al 110% respecte al...
If the Messi contract would have set the salary mass at 110%, what is the situation now without Messi?
Doncs bé, aquestes persones que s'han anomenat, que afegint el nostre CEO han estat treballant amb tots els aspectes econòmics.
Well, everyone's working on the situation. And now we have a little bit more margin to see if we can find a solution.
De fet, el límit el tenim exhauridíssim.
But we're at the limit. Even without Leo.
Tenim marge.
Even without Leo, we don't have margin. The ratio, as I said, is 4-to-1. For every 25 that we bring in, we have to release 100. That's without Leo. That's why it was so difficult to fit in that agreement with Leo. And we'd found the solution. And we found a solution that was thanks to meetings and phone calls every day in which we've been talking to La Liga, and we thought that La Liga was going to accept our proposal for this contract. But if you analyzed it, it couldn't happen. And for it to be a reality, we had to accept that that agreement that La Liga had reached with the sale of 10% of the rights. So anyway, our decision, my decision, is that we can't put the club at risk.
Hola, presidente. Aquí detrás. Al otro lado. Aquí.
No, sí, ya
Ah, vale. Santiago Valle, en directo para el Hoy por Hoy de la cadena SER. Me gustaría saber si la masa salarial está excedida en el 110% con lo que iba...
I would like to know if that 110% of salary mass, what is the percentage now without Messi?
¿Cuál es el nuevo esfuerzo que les pide la Liga? Porque dice que hay un momento...
And what is the new effort that La Liga is requiring here?
Que con lo de los 5 años sí que se le puede inscribir, pero ¿en qué momento se truca y qué les piden de más en la Liga?
What did La Liga ask as an extra that made the deal impossible to happen? I can't say the percentage right now. We have to recalculate. But we're over the salary limit. It's one thing that the club's salary mass, the sporting salary mass, exceeds 110%, but the other thing is the salary limit. And we're over it without the contract of Leo Messi. It's not about what La Liga is asking. La Liga asks us to abide by the rules. La Liga wants Leo Messi in La Liga. Of course they do. And I know that. But it's also true there are clubs that want the rules to be abided by. And they can't make an exception for even if it means that Leo is out of the La Liga. They didn't ask anything, it's just that they asked us to abide by the rules. Because we were over the salary limit that is allowed. That's as simple as it is. We need to move on.
por medio siglo los derechos audiovisuales, no lo vamos a hacer.
And we're not going to
Resolver contratos unilateralmente
amplify our salary limit by selling our audiovisual rights for the next 50 years. No, we're not going to do that.
pues comporta también unos riesgos.
And the decision would have been risky.
Esta situación es complicada.
This is a complicated situation. It could have been done better, maybe.
Estoy explicando cómo es también.
But I'm explaining it as it is.
Hola, Presi, aquí a su derecha. Alejandro Segura, en directo para Radio Marca. Usted tiene buen feeling con Leo Messi, siempre lo ha admitido, se le ha visto muchas veces.
You've always said that you have a good feeling with Leo Messi, a good relationship with him.
2 días ya sabía que era prácticamente imposible inscribir a Leo
You
Messi.
said just a few moments ago that you said that 2 days ago you knew that this would be the final decision. Have you had a chance to talk to Leo?
Bueno, a ver, Leo quería quedarse, por lo tanto,
Leo wanted to stay,
no está contento.
so he's not happy.
Todos teníamos la intención y las ganas de que se quedara.
We all wanted him to stay.
Pero él ahora pues también se enfrenta como nosotros a la realidad.
For him right now, it's a situation in which he has to confront reality. It's a reality that can't be changed.
Yo lo que sí que ya sabe él y su familia que
And he knows that I wish him the best wherever he goes, him and his family, and Barca is his home.
el palmarés del club como nadie y
He's enlarged his club's trophy list, and will always be thankful.
Primero agradecerle que dé explicaciones ante los medios de comunicación. Quería preguntarle si Jorge Messi en algún momento le pidió, exigió alguna medida que el Barça no podía cumplir.
Did Jorge Messi ever make any demands that Barca couldn't meet?
Que su mayor activo ya no seguiría siendo su.
And how did you communicate to Javier Tebas, the president of La Liga, that the La Liga's major active wouldn't continue in La Liga, and how did he take it? Those are personal conversations, and I can't disclose them. And in regards to Jorge Messi, he's had a very correct attitude throughout the negotiations. And they've never asked for anything that wasn't logical in a negotiation. There are ups and downs in negotiations. Sporting issues, fiscal issues, but they've never put us in a situation in which the contract was impossible. We had reached an agreement, as I said before, but we couldn't formalize it.
Sí, aquí. Hola, bon dia. A la seva dreta, president. Àngel Pérez, de Mundo Deportivo. Pel que he interpretat de les seves respostes en funció si és irreversible la situació, si no és així, corregeixi'm, no ho ha tancat al 100%. Aleshores...
From what I gather from your responses, you haven't said 100% that the situation is irreversible. You've linked it to financial fair play. If the club received a phone call saying that what they ask is less than what they've said, would Leo be able to wear Barca's shirt next season? Those are all hypothetical situations. They're not real as of today. And if I'm here today, it's not because of what may or may not happen. I would have wanted to be here with Leo today, and it was the dream of every culé. But we have to live in the real world. I like to dream, but we have to live in the reality, and this is what happens. And I can imagine a lot of things, of course. And there are a lot of things I would like to happen, but right now, that is not easy.
No és que jo sigui així, que calculi ràpid, però el límit salarial, aleshores, parlem d'un 95%.
And regarding the previous question, the salary limit would now be at 95%. Salary mass would be at 95%.
Aquí, Bernat Aguilar, de Nacional.cat. Crec que aquest matí ha parlat ja amb els futbolistes del primer equip, també amb els capitans.
This morning,
No sé què els hi ha explicat.
did you talk to the players of the team, the first team squad, the captains? What do they think of all of it? I think it was very important to do that. I had already talked to the captains via telephone, and I think it's very important that we've reached this point at the negotiations with Leo. And everyone was waiting for Leo to go into the dressing room and start training. And I had to tell them that that's not going to happen. And we're starting a new era, and it has to be successful. And they're the protagonists of that. They have to make us proud. And they need to prove that we can win without players of the talent of Leo Messi, who's the most talented player in the world. So, maximum professionalism. There's a clear command coming from the club. We've made decisions. We try to make fair decisions, logical decisions.
Jo crec que era un moment important, he vist les cares dels jugadors, he demanat als capitans
And I think that this was an important moment. I saw their faces, I saw the captains' faces.
donin un plus d'ells mateixos,
I've asked them to give an extra, give a plus from themselves.
una companyonia i un esperit d'equip.
I want the team spirit to be high, very strong. The captains need to lead by example. They need to lead this process of this new era, bringing in these young players who are proving to be very talented. And the new signings, we need to explain to them that Barca is a club of 122 years of history, and we've gone through different moments, different eras, and this is their opportunity now. From north to south, from east to west, they'll have the protagonism that is required, and they'll have all the support from the club to be successful.
Hola, bon dia. Aquí, senyor president. Aquí. Mari Carmen Torres, del diari Marca.
Perquè tot el coll canviat cap allà, Déu-n'hi-do.
Jo volia, si ens pot assegurar, tenint en compte que acaba de dir que està en 95%, la massa salarial, si els...
Taking into account that you just said that the salary mass is 95%, can we inscribe the new signings for this season, the 4 new signings?
Càlcul, sí. Perquè és el que us deia.
If regarding our calculations, yes.
El salari merescut del Leo Messi,
If we'd inscribe that deserved salary of Messi,
dels nous jugadors que vull agrair,
that salary is obviously different to the salaries that we're talking about now.
ha reunit una sèrie de circumstàncies que fan possible que
There have been a certain amount of circumstances that allow them, those salaries, to be within the salary limits. I hope there'll be no problems, because these players have made an effort.
Hola, bon dia. Marc Menchen, de Tu Playbook. Ara parlava de que el límit salarial, o la massa salarial...
We were just saying now that the salary mass is 95% compared to the income.
Encara exigeix al club una rebaixada salarial.
Does this still mean that the club has to negotiate a salary reduction with some of the players in the first team?
Va aconseguir una retallada salarial que no diferiment del 10%.
And
Aquí això no ha sigut...
how does it affect that Real Madrid were able to achieve a 10% salary reduction and it hasn't been able to be done here? And in terms of the economical situation, do you think that the people, the fans, are aware that not having this salary reduction means that the club will end this season with losses once again?
tancarem la temporada, l'anterior em refereixo,
Well, last season we'll end it with serious losses, double what we had predicted.
però també t'he de dir
And we'll give the numbers when it's appropriate.
és molt important
but our provision in terms of income is optimistic. We have lots of options. We have investors. We have different sponsors that want to sponsor different teams that aren't sponsored yet. So we're hopeful with the income. And in terms of the salary mass, in football, it is still recommended that the sporting salaries compared to the total income of the club should be at 65–70%. So there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done. The problem is not just the salaries. It's also the previous investments that were made. And that's the inheritance that we have.
No. Sabent que aquests 177 milions d'euros d'amortitzacions, que crec que hi ha hipotecats ja per aquesta temporada, estan allà, no es poden eliminar. Entenc que l'única via, i ja dic, m'allunyo
in regards of the amortizations that you would talk to, they can't be waived.
És que la política salarial esportiva ha de reconduir-se i ja ho estem fent.
We need to reconduct the situation in terms of salary.
El percentatge que us acabo de dir ara.
Oh, and of course we need to do it. Having just said the percentage that I said, we need to rationalize the salaries, and we need to boost the income. There are lots of ways of boosting the income. Barça has lots of possibilities. We can generate that.
Sense necessitat d'hipotecar els seus drets.
And that would be without affecting our television rights for the next years.
Si diem una pregunta, Marc, si diem una pregunta és una pregunta. Ho dic perquè si tots volen fer més d'una. És important respecte a això. Gràcies.
Artur Zanón d'Expansión. M'agradaria preguntar si es pot donar detalls sobre què diu l'auditoria i quina és la previsió de tancament.
Could you give us details on the audit?
S'ha parlat d'uns 350 milions d'euros.
You said that the losses were double what you have predicted. Could you give us some of the main numbers?
En el seu moment, no només donarem detalls, sinó tenim...
We will, that will have its moment. We will give those numbers. We'll offer our members all of the conclusions of the audit and of the due diligence process that have been done as well regarding different parts of the club, Espai Barça, BLM merchandising.
Que ens han portat a nosaltres a fer el tancament que hem fet, que serà un...
Those conclusions have led us to close last season's exercise the way we have. But I can't do it now in this press conference. I can't offer those numbers here, but it is true that the situation in which the club is at the moment, because of that disgraceful inheritance that we have received with debt that isn't sustainable, all of that has been put on the scale in terms of making the decision with Leo Messi.
Evidentment, la presentació als mitjans de comunicació prèvia a l'assemblea per explicar.
We'll do that before the assembly. Right now, we're in a process
de captació de recursos per tal
in which we're trying to gather resources to restructure our debt. And we've seen the interest, the global interest there is for Barça.
Recursos aconseguits, com també amb el preu del...
We can see that in the volume of resources that we've managed to gather. And that will all be explained in detail. And that's good news. Good news in terms of giving us a horizon in which we can try to turn the situation around. But right now, the situation, the reality is another.
Hola, Carles Ruiz Pérez, del diari La Vanguardia. Jo volia saber si, després del comunicat d'ahir, que va ser una mica fet...
After yesterday's announcement, have you started to think of how the Leo Messi tribute is going to be? You've said that it probably can't be done at the stadium with a full stadium. But will there be a press conference with a player with the 35 titles? Is that what the club wants to do? The tribute to Leo Messi will be the tribute that Leo Messi wants, and whatever he likes, whatever he wants to do. If it was up to us, we would pay tribute to Leo Messi every day for what he's done for Barca. We know of the circumstances we're in right now, in terms of the pandemic, in terms of the economical situation, in terms of the moment of the pre-season, and that makes it complicated. But I hope that one day we can see the tribute that Leo Messi deserves.
Hola, Didac Pairet del diari Esport. Jo volia preguntar-li al president si li consta un interès del PSG per Leo Messi i a quin equip...
Do you know if PSG are interested in Messi? Which team would Joan Laporta like Messi to see Messi play? I would like to see him play at Barca, but whatever he does is up to him. We'll have to ask him. I will not answer that.
I la primera part de la pregunta que l'havia fet, si li consta un interès del PSG pel futbolista.
Do you think PSG are interested?
No em consta a mi. Fefaentment no em costa.
Well, I don't know that, but it has always been said that they have options.
President, bona tarda, bon dia. David Bernabeu de Deportes 4. Quisiera, es que el martes leímos titulares en todos los medios en el sentido de que...
On Tuesday we read headlines saying that the club wanted to announce Messi's renewal on Thursday. If only this that you have talked about has been the change in the last few hours, did Messi and his father travel to Barcelona, come to Barcelona to sign, or did they come knowing what the situation was? And also, is the team closed? Will there be someone signing to replace Leo? No, the first team squad isn't done, isn't closed. The market closes on the 31st of August, so lots of things can happen. Both parts knew the circumstances regarding the first question. We're talking about fair play. We already had the agreement, and if we'd have been able to fit it in with the fair play regulations, it was done. 2 years to be paid in 5. And we were all happy with it. And we were also happy with the 5-year deal. We even shook hands. But then the reality was that that contract didn't fit in those regulations only if we accepted that agreement that La Liga had reached. And we reached the conclusion that no, it couldn't be. And from there, everyone started to reevaluate the situation. What is the situation now? What are the circumstances now? What can we do? What can't we do? We considered that we couldn't do it because the club comes first. And the other part evaluated their options. And yesterday, after a conversation that had been had the day before, we decided that the best thing was to make the decision. And we make decisions here, and we'll continue to make them. On behalf of Barça, we make them. And that's how it went.
Aquí, presidente, detrás de David, aquí, Marc Fuster, en directo para El Rojo y para Sexta Noticias. Por lo que acaba de decir, el padre de Leo...
From what you just said, Jorge Messi came to Barcelona yesterday knowing that the agreement will be impossible to be reached. And what was the situation in that meeting? Will you call Messi also? I talked to Jorge yesterday. We talked the day before as well. I've been sending messages to Leo. He was on holidays in Ibiza. The limit to sign this deal was Thursday. And the way the circumstances have gone have led to this situation and this solution.
No sé qué me has preguntado más. Bueno, yo creo que ahora ya está, ya lo hemos hablado, ¿no?
And now, yeah, it's been talked about.
Yo ya de alguna manera comenté que hiciéramos una rueda de prensa conjunta.
I said that we could do a joint press conference, but I understand the situation. But I understand that he's disappointed. Both parts are disappointed. We've worked a lot to try and achieve it, and we couldn't do it. There are causes that won't allow us to do it. What doesn't allow this agreement to be formalized are causes that we can't change. We can't change them. And there are things that can't be done.
Por falta de fair play.
Because it would be out of fair play.
Javier Tebas acaba de tuitear un tuit en el que se lo voy a leer.
Javier Tebas has just tweeted.
CVC no hipoteca los derechos de la televisión del Barcelona 50 años. Lo que hace es que los mismos.
The tweet says that the agreement for 50 years doesn't affect the club for 50 years.
Bueno, que hola Javier.
Hello Javier. I would say
no lo interpretamos así.
That we don't interpret this situation like this.
Hubo unas conversaciones ayer entre nuestros altos ejecutivos.
There were conversations yesterday between our high executives and those who are leading this agreement with La Liga, and they didn't give us the explanations that we felt were convincing enough. And there are risks that I don't want to assume. For the good of the club I preside.
Porque son ingeniosas y ocurrentes, pero al fin y al cabo aquí se trata de.
Here we're talking about defending the club, and it meant giving up part of the television rights for 50 years, and operations that are done for 50 years, for the next 50 years, I don't think we have to do them. I would also say to Javier that the total of the operation with CVC is a lot inferior to what we feel the value is of La Liga at 10%.
Con todo mi cariño, ya te he respondido.
And that's what I have to say.
Hola, aquí Pablo Vázquez, Televisión Española. Quería preguntarle cómo interpreta el silencio de la plantilla ante una noticia como esta y si cree que es que quizá, no sé si esperan alguna especie de milagro.
How do you interpret the silence of the first team players with all this situation? I think that the squad, when there's a player who you've played with for so many years and he's not going to be there anymore, it's a strange situation with certain sadness, but they're professionals and they have an opportunity now to prove that their talent, which is a lot, can also lead Barça to success.
Yo los he visto, pues bueno, sí, muy expectantes, porque
they were
no era lo esperado, pero a la vez
waiting to see what was happening, and it's not what they were expecting, but I think they're starting to understand what the situation is. We have a group of players with great talent, and they want to prove that they're great professionals and that they're making their dream come true, which is to be a Barça player. And now it's time to go for those challenges that we set ourselves. We want to win those competitions that we take part in.
Desde la presidencia, pasando por la dirección general
From the club, from the presidency and all the board of directors, we're going to demand professionalism, implication, and we're going to support our players and our coaching staff in order for them to have everything they need to be able to compete. We're going to continue to make decisions, trying to be fair, and always benefiting the interests of Football Club Barcelona.
Hola, bones. Aquí, Adrià Soldavila, de goal.com. No sé si han analitzat durant els últims dies, les últimes...
Have you analysed in the last few days, the last few weeks, the impact
per la marca Barça,
for the Barça brand, in terms of sponsorships,
la marxa de Messi del club.
Messi's departure from the club?
Podria explicar? I una petita pregunta. Respecte a les pèrdues, ha dit que eren el doble de les previstes. Si les previstes eren 350-400, vol dir que estem parlant d'uns...
And in terms of the losses you talked about before, they're double what you had expected. We talked about 300, 350. What are they now? No, we'd expected losses of 200, so they're going to be 400, which is a lot.
Doncs bé, s'haurà de treballar més.
And in regards to sponsorships, we'll have to work hard and work better in order to explain what Barça is and that we have great, talented players. And there will be players who can probably come in and will create that motivation and that expectation in the sponsors to stay linked to Barça. But Messi, in terms of football, Messi had a few more years, but we've had to advance our decision and we're going to have to face our new reality. Two more questions.
El sector més la darrera d'en anglès d'IP. Queda alguna pregunta més per fer per aquí? Vale, d'acord. No, d'acord. Anem cap allà.
Hola, president. Jordi Montalvo, de BTV. Has comentat que has pogut parlar amb els capitans, que els has traslladat...
You said you talked to the captain, that you've given them your support. Have you been able to talk to Ronald Koeman, and what was his reaction? He had insisted that it was important to renew Messi's contract. I've talked to Ronald. I talked yesterday, I talked today, and he's a man of the club. He's a great professional. He has the ability to adapt quickly to new situations. And he said that, obviously, we're going to go for everything. We're going to go at it. And not having a player like Messi will obviously be difficult to replace, but he's motivated. He's integrated in the club, and he wants this new era to be splendid, to be successful, and him and the players need to be the protagonists in that.
Hola, president. César Santos d'El Món. Si vostè hagués de fer una llista de culpables, entre cometes, de la situació...
If you had to make a list of people guilty of this situation, apart from the previous administration, would you also include La Liga, someone else? The list of guilty people? I think that the base of everything is the previous administration's disastrous inheritance. And it's a situation that we can't change from one day to the other. It's taken us a couple of months to do the audit, and we're at the first conclusions at the moment. There are lots of issues involved. We keep finding out new sources in terms of black holes. But I've already said it. Let's look forward. And obviously, with the conclusions of the audit, we'll have to act. What I won't do is be an unnecessary cooperator in decisions that have been done. Some decisions that might even be criminal. And I'm not talking about signings. Some of these decisions we still find hard to understand. They must have been under a lot of pressure. But that's all led us to this situation right now. I don't want to go down the route of victimism. We already knew what the situation was. We knew what the rules were. But they can't expect us to accept those agreements which would affect the audiovisual rights of Barca for the next 50 years. And an agreement for which those who are paying would be paying a third of the value that we think La Liga has. I understand that some clubs will accept this, but we're Barca. And what we won't do is make decisions that will affect the short term, or thinking about the short term, but that will then have an effect on the long term. We won't do that. We decide, and we've decided to say enough. We said enough with La Liga. La Liga will have no doubts in terms of our position, and that has its consequences. We assume them, but we think the club is above all. FC Barcelona is above all.
President, aquí. Aquí, president Martí Molina, Diari Ara. Perdoni que insisteixi en el tema de l'acord. Vostè diu que ja portaven, evidentment, mesos tractant-ho.
In terms of the agreement, you said how you'd been talking about it for a couple of months, working on it. You talked about the 5-year deal. If there had been a gesture on Messi's behalf, would it have been possible? They've done everything that they could do and more than that. It's not about that. I can't create false expectation or send a message to the other part knowing that they've done everything that they could. It's hypothetical, and I don't want to think about them because I don't think they're real. Everyone's made the efforts that they needed to make, and they have other offers. And they've proven to us that he wanted to stay. They wanted to stay even if our offer was inferior to others that he had. So there's nothing else to say.
Hola, bona tarda, president. Aquí, davant seu, més o menys. Es Paula Muriel para CNN en español. Antes ha dicho que Leo Messi tiene otras opciones fuera del Barcelona.
You said before that Messi has other options. Do you know which ones they are?
Que Messi vaya a priorizar escuchar ofertas que vengan de rivales.
Is Messi going to prioritize offers, leagues from other continents, or will he be playing in Europe against other Barca rivals? You'd have to ask Leo Messi about that and his agents. I can't talk about that. I can't put words in Leo's mouth. He's the best player in the world, and logic takes you to think that he has other very good offers. Our offer was the best we could make within our economical possibilities. And we even went further than we could to try and attract the player, and he accepted it. But we weren't able to formalize this because of the salary limit.
Ruth, Joan i després AP farà una pregunta en anglès. I ja està, amb això acabem.
Ruth Vilada, Catalunya Ràdio. Tinc un dubte amb el tema de CVC.
I have a question about CVC.
Aprova aquest acord.
If La Liga's assembly accepts this, is Barca obliged to move on with it? Well, this is a question which has its answer in the air right now. We're in La Liga. But I don't know what CVC will do. I think the Real Madrid are also not in agreement. They're preparing a demand for that agreement to not be put into place. We've already said that we don't see it clearly. We want to talk to CVC. They know what Barca's position is. They have to evaluate the situation. And we have to act with everything that has happened. And we could oppose the agreement. But we can't accept money now that will affect us in the future.
Si l'Assemblea votés, si el Barça estaria obligat a complir un contracte que no li agrada.
Aquí et pots defensar. Tens instruments, tens accions legals.
We can defend ourselves. If you feel that they're affecting your rights negatively, you have ways to defend yourself, and that's what we'll do.
President, una pregunta que m'ha quedat pendent. A l'hora de parlar dels esforços que ha fet Messi, hi havia les...
When we talked about the effort of
per posar l'exemple tipus,
Messi,
Pau Gasol ha sigut aquest any,
was there making
coneix la situació
a symbolic amount of money
que havia firmat Messi abans?
like Pau Gasol did to come back? Did Messi make enough of an effort in that sense?
Darrer contracte, no? Leo Messi ha fet tot el que ha pogut.
Leo Messi did everything he could, and more than that, for this agreement to be reached.
No tenim res que reprochar-li.
And there's nothing negative to say about that.
Yes, this is for... If you can tell me, at what point, did you actually